Do you ever get emotionally stuck? You ever feel like you want to break a pattern, you want to break an old habit, but it just keeps going? Well, that's what we're going to deal with today. We're going to deal with a little girl. I call her Little Annie's anxiety. And I want to talk about her because a child's mind is so simple and clean that I think it'll give us a good example of what's going on in our brains as well. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and welcome. Welcome to My 5 Minds. This is where you're going to learn a new neuropsychology called systemology. It's going to help you understand how your brain works in systems so you can do more, be more, and feel better. Today, as I mentioned, we're going to work on feeling emotionally stuck. And particularly, we're going to look at this story of Little Annie's anxiety. So mom brings Annie in. She's probably a middle schooler. And she's worried about her daughter because her daughter is not attending school. She's having so much anxiety. She's feeling so flooded, so overwhelmed that, half the time she's getting a call from the nurse's office and she has to come down and pick up Annie and get her out of school. So we bring her in to see if we can help. Now, the way I like to work with people, the way I like to work with kids in general, is to give them very specific, very clear exercises, something they can do, a tool, something that they can use to help themselves deal with their anxiety. So as we start working with Annie, I start with what I usually start with, which is tummy breaths, getting her to breathe diaphragmatically. And as we start working on breathing diaphragmatically, something weird happens. And he's not doing it. And he's not practicing. And he's not even trying. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Because here's something that I watched her take a few breaths with, and I saw her begin to calm. And then, whew, she stopped and wouldn't go any further. Well, when that happens, what's going on is that she's getting some kind of secondary gain. She's getting some kind of benefit from her anxiety. So even though her head, her thinking mind, Leo, the logical brain, says, I want to quit, I want to stop, I want to feel better, I don't like these feelings. Her emotional brain, Emma, is like, no, I'm getting something out of this. This is working for me. And as long as it's working for her, she's going to keep doing it. And that's the core of what keeps you emotionally stuck, is that there's something you're doing that you're getting benefit out of. And even though you may try interventions, you may try tools, you may get on the internet and try different techniques, they're ultimately not going to work. Why? Because the technique's broken? Typically not. Typically it's not going to work because you're getting something from it. So let's do a mind map and let's see if we can understand what's going on. Now, the first thing I want you to see and notice is that the brain works from the bottom up. If you need to make changes, if you have to do something differently or want to do something with your life, you got to work from the bottom of your brain up. A lot of therapy, a lot of times we try to work from the top down, try to convince and change the brain with Leo, with cognitive therapy, trying to talk ourselves out of problems. And when your anxiety or feelings and emotions are low, you can do that. You can pull that off. But when you're flooded, when you're anxious, depressed, when your emotions are higher than a 5 on a scale to 10, it's not going to happen. The picture I love to use is a picture of somebody riding an elephant. When the elephant is good, the driver can drive the elephant almost anywhere. Pick up things, turn right, turn left, start, stop, all that stuff, easy. But when that elephant's upset, we're not going anywhere. And there's probably even a good chance the elephant's going to grab you, throw you off, unstomp on you. Well, that's the way your brain works. Your brain works from the bottom up. The power is in the base brain. So let's look at what's happening with Annie's base brain and see what's going on. Well, the first thing we know about her is that she's having high levels of anxiety. When she gets anxious and upset, she goes to the school nurse. School nurse calls mom, Mom comes and picks her up, takes her home. And what's mom do? Gives her a lot of TLC, loves her, tells her it's going to be okay, hugs her, comforts her, all the things that we would think is totally normal as a mom to do when your kid's afraid. How's the brain seeing this, though? Well, from a brain point of view, she's getting reinforced. It's called a negative reinforcement schedule. Negative reinforcement is different than positive reinforcement. We always think of negative reinforcement as being like punishment. I'm going to spank my child. But actually not true. Punishment is a different kind of reinforcement schedule. With a negative reward, what's happening is there's something bad happening, and then we come in and we take that bad away. And by taking away the bad, we feel relieved. We feel better. And that actually reinforces whatever it was we just did that took away those bad feelings. So mom coming, picking her up from school, taking her home, giving her TLC is rewarding her anxiety. Anytime she's feeling anxious, what's her brain going to want to do? Call mom, leave school. Call mom, leave school. Call mom, leave school. Because all of those behaviors have been reinforced. Now, I step in and I say, okay, well, let's do something different. Let's teach you some relaxation exercise. Let's teach you some ways to calm yourself. Her base brain's like, no. Then I'll lose out on all the TLC. I'll lose out on getting to leave school. I'll lose out on all the rewards and benefits that I'm getting from being anxious. Why would I do that? Why would I be motivated to learn to relax when I'm getting rewarded for having anxiety? And that's exactly what was happening. So at that point in the session, we had to stop. And I started to focus on mom instead. And we talked a little bit about the brain. We mapped out kind of what was happening. And I told her, Mom, this is what we need to do. We need to do something differently. When she has anxiety, anxiety is an emotional driver. Anxiety drives behavior. So what we want to do is we want to condition and train her brain that whenever she's anxious, she's driven towards relaxation. So what we have to do is we have to leave her in that high state of arousal, high state of anxiety, leave her in that high state of stress until that stressor drives her to do her relaxation, to do her tummy breathing. Now, we always tell kids breathe. We always tell people breathe when they're feeling relaxed. Tummy breathing, diaphragmatic breathing is actually something pretty much around the arts. It's an artistic form that takes lots of practice and training. I'll spend a whole session, a whole hour with somebody just training them how to breathe. Because just telling a child to breathe, they're going to do it all wrong and it's not going to have an effect. So when I'm talking about tummy breathing, I'm talking about something very specific. I'm talking about a set of exercises that are built around diaphragmatic breathing. So we teach mom, we teach the child how to do it. Step one. Then mom has to leave the child in a state of anxiety. So if the child calls from school, mom has to go down there maybe and have her make sure she does her relaxation, or make sure that the school nurse knows what's going on. This child has to relax. She has to calm down. Then once she's calmed down, maybe we can pick her up, maybe we can take her home. But what we're reinforcing is the relaxation. Even if we take her home, that's fine with me. Or if your kids are coming out of the bedroom, they're feeling upset, they're feeling scared of the dark. You have to teach them to relax, and if they relax first, then they can leave the bedroom. But they cannot leave the bedroom, they cannot leave school, they cannot be rewarded unless they've done the behaviors first. Because now we're reinforcing what we want. And we're using the driver, anxiety, fear, depression, whatever it is, to help shift a new behavior. Now, let's practice with you. Here's your homework assignment. First, I want you to mind map. I want you to go down to the description. I want you to pull out a systems mind map, and I want you to map out what is the negative emotion that you're trying to avoid, negative feeling you're trying to get rid of. Okay? Then I want you to look at what are the behaviors you're doing that actually gets rid of it. Maybe you're feeling upset and then you take a drink. Or maybe you're feeling anxious and you run away from a situation. Or maybe you're feeling depressed and you climb into bed. Those are all normal things. Now, once you've noticed the pattern, I want you to put an interrupt in between the emotional stimulus and the emotional response. The stimulus could be if you're running to your bed when you're feeling depressed. The stimulus could be, I'm going to take a walk first. I'm going to get outside and get some fresh air first. I'm going to write in my journal first. All of those would be interrupts. And then once I've done the interrupt, I may follow through with the same old behavior. But what's going to happen is that same old behavior is going to actually, because the base brain doesn't have a sense of time, it's only operating in the here and now, and because it doesn't have a sense of sequence, when you've interjected the positive behavior and now you're rewarding the positive behavior, you're actually going to reinforce it. I want you to map it out for yourself and begin to distinguish between the stimulus, the emotion, the feeling, and then what you're doing to reinforce it. And then I want you to put a different behavior in the middle and practice that behavior. All right? I hope that makes sense. If this was useful, if you feel and see success with this, if you don't, make comments. I'd love to hear how you're doing on your homework. It'll actually help keep a level of accountability as well. 2, if you like this video, like the video. And if you want to learn more about systems, about how your brain works, subscribe. I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and you're watching My 5 Minds. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.